like people are starting to allow someone of color to audition, but then sometimes they're just like, sometimes not out of maliciousness, they go like, here, you'll audition for this person of color, and then they don't send anything else. What we want is the representation to play all of the characters, and that's slowly starting to change to where we can get that representation to play all of the characters. So I would say don't be nervous to go out there and try and audition for those. Like that's like
absolutely.
that. I feel as though you're like whatever you're feeling on the inside, that's something unique to you. And that's something that people can see and hear in your auditions.
Yeah.
I would go so
just
far.
open up to it, man.
I would go so far as to encourage you to keep auditioning because the more genderqueer actors that we have in the industry, and granted, we have a lot, but we could use a whole lot more. It'll have a whole ripple effect, and soon there will be so much more in the door.
The door's opening.
The
You
door
just
is
gotta
wide.
Go on in.
And it definitely feels like the door is opening not only just like here in our industry, but also over in Japan, where they are creating things that are more open towards
Yep.
the LGBTQ community as well. So it's been progress on all sides, I think.
Yeah, so
Yep.
you have more characters that actually like fit who you represent more. No, but I will say in regards to some of that, and this is of course going to be by a person by person basis on what you feel comfortable auditioning for. But I know that like some like genderqueer people will audition for stuff like. You have to know what your voice sounds like. And certainly you can audition for the roles that are like also genderqueer, but don't let that stop you from auditioning for other stuff.
Yep.
If, say, you're a trans dude, for instance, if you're comfortable with it, audition for like the female sides because your voice will still potentially fit that. If you're not comfortable with it, that's totally understandable and you don't have to do that. You can also audition for the guys' sides, but depending on what they're looking for, that might not be what they want. But we are getting more and more with, especially some characters that like, I don't know, they're not as, I guess obviously
Not as
gendered
black and
one way
white.
or the other. It's like we're getting more opportunities for that in the industry, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh goodness.
they caught him.
Let's see our next truth. Nia, I don't know if you can see this from here.
I'll do my best to read.
Tilt.
Truth 4. Many actors and directors do shows and plays outside of the studio. It is amazing that you want to go out and support them. However, do not think that because you came to support them, you will have a greater output in getting roles in a show. This goes the same for classes. Not all networking opportunities are pay to play. Not all classes are a pay to play.
So, especially since Crunchyroll is very local, we as actors, we do theater. A lot of us do Shakespeare, things of that nature. And unfortunately, it seems like sometimes some people just want to come out and either fan real hard, or they want to be able to network and try and get in and be like, "Oh my God, I love you directing that you're this particular show. Can I please audition for it?" That type of thing.
Yep.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Please just come and enjoy the show and just be chill. Like that's like the biggest thing
I had an experience a year ago where I was in a show and there was another actor who came to see it, a newer actor, and he came to see it and I was very appreciative that he did. But then he came another week too, specifically when a bunch of other actors and a couple directors were coming, and I'm like, dude, you're not slick. Like, you're not here for the show anymore. You're here to network. And that just kind of feels
disingenuous.
shitty. Yeah, disingenuous.
Cruddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like,
We're human too.
yeah.
So that's something that I felt was really needed to say, especially if, for those that are wanting to get into this industry. Is just please understand that, hey, we do more than just anime, and we just want to be treated like normal. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and it's totally fine. Absolutely. Like, if you want to go see different stuff that we're in, and it happens to be a live show, then like absolutely go and do that. But like, don't expect anything from it in return. Is basically like, support your actors, whatever. Also, watching different forms of media is fun.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
They don't.
Yeah.
They sure don't.
There's a lot of like secret rules in this secret handbook that you slowly have to learn in the VO game. Don't know what it's called yet, but we'll
cult
figure
of
it out.
VO.
Yeah, the cult of VO. The VO God Church, yeah. When it comes to networking, it really depends on the atmosphere and environment,
Yeah.
I would say. So if you're like at a class or something like that, or maybe an outing between like voice actors or something like that. If you just want to keep it chill, that's fine. Let's say we're at a class and it's the end of that class. This is a very good time to network, not only with the directors and engineers, but with your peers as well, because they're going to be your companions and also your competition. So you want to get to know people in your area.
Knowing and understanding your community and who's a part of that community is also a really big deal. And doing so, there are people out there that host even meetups and community night networking and things of that nature that is meant for that, especially. And that just, it takes the pressure off of trying to network, say, like at the studio, because studio is supposed to be work, you know? It's not time to schmooze up to somebody or whatever like that. So it's knowing how to be professional in that sense also, because even though like the meetups are like, you know, you're grabbing a drink with some food or whatever like that, you can talk about business, but also I'm trying to eat.
Don't make it all
I feel
about
like
business.
Asking
Yeah.
for advice is always
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Asking how you did something is always okay. Asking for you to get them in the door
Yeah,
is not
very,
Yes.
very different.
Asking for
It's
a
very
role.
different.
like
Yeah.
don't be like, hey man, can you cast me? Or like, hey, can you like tell them like if they need voices that sound like me, can you tell them that I'm available? Like it doesn't work that way.
No.
Sure.
And that's annoying. That's just it's not how that works.
Yeah.
And don't have your friends also like be like, oh, go tell this director that I'm available if they need me, you know, that type of thing either. You know, it just doesn't look good.
No.
No. Truth number 5, fan dubs. Okay, I know some people do fan dubs. Unfortunately, in this particular industry, they are frowned upon. Do not do them. However, there are some of us that have done them. Okay, but do not put them on your resume. It's not something that is resume building, unfortunately. But the main thing is because fan dubs are not approved by the studios and by the client unless they say, hey, we've gotten approved to do this. Because mainly the studio is trying to already put out a great product and you don't need to go and copy it.
Yeah, and especially Japanese studios will get mad.
They'll get on your ass.
They get very angry.
They are
It's not to
ruthless.
say don't do fandoms exactly, but like if you're gonna, don't use your name. And yeah, don't put them on your resume. Don't put them on your demo reel.
You
Nope.
can do them in
Don't-
private.
Don't be like, hey, famous director person, here's my work
Yeah,
in this
check out my
fandom. I did
Yeah.
a fan dub of your thing.
They'll
Do
be
you
like,
like
no way
it?
you voiced Goku in Dragon Ball?
I love
That's
you.
crazy.
I sound so much better than the original.
Oh, God.
I've heard that one before, actually, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Yes. And I mean, it's just like, don't advertise it. It's absolutely, I think it's okay to do it, but it's not necessarily good to put your actual name
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that.
Unfortunately, especially with Japanese clients, they do not like parodies at all whatsoever. They're like, that's not funny. That is our work that you're making fun of.
Yeah, I mean, I know like the DBZ Abridged dudes got like banned from working at Funimation.
Yeah.
I don't know if that still stands, but it was because Toei was so like
I
miffed at
think
them
it does
for
still
it.
stand.
So, and that's like, it feels really shitty, but like that's on them. So it's dangerous waters to tread in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have questions about this? Yes, ma'am?
For the comic ones, those ones are, for like comics and stuff like that, those ones are fine.
Yeah.
Like it's fan dubs, the ones that are frowned upon is like if you actually get like a clip from the show and then dub over the clip from the
Yeah,
show.
they can- I
Those
mean,
will be the problem ones.
Quite frankly, they consider that stealing.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's piracy.
Yeah.
Because
For
you're
comics, you can
uploading
do that 100%,
stuff from
that's
the
fine.
show
As long as-
itself. Yeah, comic dubs are
I
a
do
little
comic
different.
dubs still.
Yeah, comic dubs are
Still
the
not
best
something
way to
put on
go.
your resume.
Yeah, don't put it
Yeah,
on your
yeah,
resume.
yeah,
Don't be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm known for doing this comic dub. Don't do that.
No.
But you can still do it for fun. Like, I do a bunch
It's
of it
good.
for fun.
It's good practice and stuff as
I
well.
started
but
out with Homestuck back in the
At the end of the
day.
day, it's not professional
No.
work.
It's
So-
not considered professional work. So it's good to be able to kind of get your feet on wet and all that stuff to
Yeah.
kind of understand the process. But a lot of times, try and get permission before doing those.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the biggest thing that I can always recommend for
It
anybody.
certainly is not going to kill your chances of getting in anywhere if you have done these things. It's just don't advertise that you do them if you're wanting to be a professional in the
Exactly.
industry.
Yeah.
If you have fan dubs, you can put them on unlisted or private.
I think we got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Who are you pointing to?
Who are you pointing at?
I only saw that one. Was there another person raising their hand? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we'll do
There
that.
was two of them.
So for fandoms, like, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but they seem to be like big indie culture, like, because they seem to be a little bit more accessible and also just, like, there's that national comedy behind it. So how do you, like, work with it when it's such a big fan culture, like, thing, as well as being an actor, like, floating between that line?
The way that you'd have to do it is like what I said earlier. If you do fandoms for say practice or like ADR practice or anything like that, I wouldn't really publicly post it, especially with your name on it. You wouldn't want to do that.
You could do like a
You could do a
pseudonym.
pseudonym, or you could just make it and then put it on private or unlisted and just have it for yourself and maybe a few friends to just look at. Because if you put it on public, there's a chance the company could just be because if you have your name on the project, and then let's say the producers of this anime want to hire you for a show, and they're like, all right, let's do some research and dig, because they do some research and dig and look at stuff that you've done, and then they're like, let's see, what have you? A Dragon Ball fan dub. Well, I can't cast this person in Dragon Ball anymore now. So either a pseudonym or putting it on private or unlisted would be the best way to, if you still want to keep doing fandubs. And even after, at some point, you'll get to a point where you're like, oh man, I don't really need to do fandubs as much anymore, because you'll have original work that you'll want to do, or you'll have fan comics that you'll want to do and stuff like that.
Plus, it's cooler to get to do the actual thing if you can. Fandoms are again, it's not a bad place to start, but
Yeah,
it's not.
it's good
yeah.
practice, good
Yeah.
ADR practice.
But it is a sort of starter, and if you're wanting to be professional, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You raised your hand.
What are some good projects to get in on at the very beginning to build your work?
Projects.
There's
Indie stuff.
And
so
any
many
indie
indie
projects.
things.
There is
Oh, that's
a
your, that was
um,
your phone.
My bad.
there is a ton of indie projects out there, in the world of Twitter or X, whichever way you guys want to call that particular website.
Twat.
Sure.
Casting call retweets are great. I know Casting Call Club, it's CCC, they have some really good indie projects on there, or
Voice acting
passion
club.
projects and things of that nature. Voice Acting Club is phenomenal as well. Those are the top 3 that I always recommend, because those are the easiest to find and start building your resume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Does that also apply to fully animated animation?
No.
No,
So fan dubs is say we take
like a clip.
a clip of
the
Dragon
show,
Ball Z.
from the
like
official
that,
show.
is taking it from the official show, that particular, a true title like that, that is what's called a fan dub. But if it's made by a fan and things of that nature, that's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's animated, it's drawn, whatever, by somebody else that's not the original, then that's more free game.
Now, if you already work on the project, you can't do that fan
Yeah,
animation.
that's true.
Yeah. Yes. Huh? You raised your hand. Okay. All right, next one is we have truth number 6 is your job as an actor is to audition to get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
That is like 99% of the job.
That is pretty much 99% of that job because
That's the hard part.
and it's so hard. Like, I can't tell you, like, I'm sure many of us have probably auditioned for well over 1,000 things.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You
you know-
audition over for 1,000, you get like one.
Yeah, maybe. Or even like you're shortlisted and you're like, oh.
It's always the worst when you get the email that's like, hey, we thought you did so great,
But
but.
I think
Don't do that.
I am so thankful
Getting
I've
an
never
email.
gotten that before because I'd be so hyped, be like, man, you thought I was great, and then they're like, we didn't cast you. I'm like,
most of the time, you will not get a response when you
Yeah.
audition for anything. And they don't
I'd
tend
much
to
prefer
tell you that you didn't get it. You just see a casting announcement that somebody else got it, which hurts. But like also, quite frankly, I think it's better than getting rejection emails.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a waste of the client's time to do that anyway, in
Yeah.
my opinion. But it is a hard industry to be in because there's so much of that. And then you'll see your friends succeeding when you're not getting anything, and that hurts too. And
Yeah.
you're happy for them. You have to be happy for them. Don't begrudge them. If that's your mentality, this is not
this
the
ain't for
industry.
you,
This is
brother.
not
Don't
me.
do it.
Like, if you're like, man, I would have been better in that role. Well,
Nope.
mm,
The
that-
director
It-
didn't choose you, buddy.
Right. Well,
You gotta sit with that.
the thing is like, you know, we're all trying to work as actors and
Yeah.
stuff, and the biggest thing is trying to support. It's natural as a human being to be jealous.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, but a lot of times it's like, okay, you can have your moment of jealousy,
Yeah.
but then you got to move on.
Yeah.
Okay?
Don't let it turn into
Don't
malice.
let it. Yes, exactly. So
Yeah, if you start like disliking people because they're more successful than you, then it
That's a
becomes
very
a
big problem.
that happens a
You,
lot.
you got to work on yourself before you work on like you can't blame other people for their success.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
All right. Does anyone have any questions about that one? Yes, in the back. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So let's say you're just starting like very basic on, you've got no experience, you've never been in any classes. What is actually better to like go on Twitter and audition for like radio shows or webtoon original, that kind of thing, and send in auditions to try to get some experience? Hopefully, I'm on 1,758, I think, failures.
It's all right.
It's okay.
Keep trekking, man.
Trust me, it's hard. This is a hard industry.
Or is it better to get that kind of experience and then do a demo reel? Or is it better to do a demo reel first and then start?
I would say
Experience first.
I would say
feel.
experience and classes.
Experience and classes are first.
Mm-hmm.
The
What I've noticed is that a lot of them are say, post your demo reel, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
have
Luckily, there's not like I've seen the ones that do have that, but those ones do not outweigh the many that don't ask for a demo, that actually ask for an audition.
And the other thing is, like, for those that do ask for a demo reel, you can a lot of times you could even just message them going, I do not have a demo reel, but can I send you
Can
a
I send
sample?
samples?
And a lot of times, especially with those more indie projects, they're usually pretty open to samples. So that is something that you can go out of your way and request. You may not hear back from them, and that's okay. But that is just like, hey, I don't have a demo reel just yet, but I do have some samples I would love to send your way, and things of that nature. And that's usually a good way to start that. With demos specifically, I always recommend taking classes, building up your resume just a little bit, and then getting coaching.
Yep.
And then talk to your coach to see if maybe, like, if you feel like you're ready for a demo, and if, like, maybe your coach is like, actually, yeah, you can probably dish out a pretty decent character demo.
Yep.
That is something I really highly suggest, is working with someone that's already working in the industry, and then if they're working with you, they can give you the correct advice of when you feel is a good time to get a demo.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion for demos.
Yeah.
If anyone has any other opinions, that's up to you guys.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. You're on the money. Because I was one of the few. I got a demo reel before I felt like I was ready, and then literally a year later, I was like, I can do so much better than
Yeah.
this. I need another demo, and I had to fork
my
over some more money for that.
Just
so.
a very, very open note, which is you hear it from a lot of people. Do not get a demo reel until you feel that you are ready. Don't let anyone else say like, "Oh yeah, I think you got it." You have to yourself feel like you could kick ass in this demo reel.
Don't let Bob from down the street go like, "Oh, you got a funny voice." You
Yeah,
should
no,
do a demo
I
reel."
think you talk funny. I think you talk funny. I like that. Yeah, no, don't let anybody basically be your
Remind
coach.
me of that Tweety Bird fella.
It really hurts when my mom is like,
Right.
Yeah, no.
And honestly, even the life expectancy of a demo that shows your range of how much you've changed is within about 3 to 4 years. So usually around every 3 to 4 years, you should probably update it because your acting has changed since then.
Yep.
So that is something to also understand and consider. I mean, granted, my commercial demo is like 7 years old, and I'm still getting work from that, and I just haven't had time to go get a new commercial reel done. So yes, yes.
You said that the standard life is like 3 to 4 years. Is that different when you're first starting out and you're having rapid growth?
So when you first start out, even if you have a demo, that still shows where you're at, and then within usually the change is that most casting directors and directors have noticed is within about 3 to 4 years.
Well, and
So-
that's the reason why not to jump into getting a demo super fast, because as you said, there's rapid growth that can happen, and if you get a demo and then you learn a whole bunch, and in a year's time you might be like, wow, that started awful, and I could do so much better, and I spent this money on this thing that's now useless to me.
Yeah. So
You
before
know.
you get a demo, just make sure that you do the classes, do the coaching, and then get to a point where like they're like, "Yeah, you're ready," because then you'll get it, and then after that, every 3 to 4 years, you'll feel like you're improving even
Yeah,
more.
exactly.
It should be like a gradual climb of improvement rather than just like a do a demo. Phew! Well, now I can't. I act way better than I did before.
Now I can never die.
It's better to do the classes and then grow up and then get the demo and then gradually grow up and improve a little bit more.
Yeah. You in the back?
Just a quick question, what would you say is the difference between a demo reel and a sample?
Oh,
Well, a sample would be a clip of something that you've already done.
Something that you've already performed
Or if
for a
you needed,
project.
like, sometimes people will ask you, like, hey, because I had this happen the other day. I had somebody go, hey, I need people who can do young girl voices. Can anybody send me, like, can anybody do this? If you have samples, that'd be great. You can send them a demo if that's on your demo. If it's not, it's like, okay, we'll just record like a little tiny, I don't know, 15-second thing and send it.
yeah, most samples are about 15 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds, and then a demo is about a minute.
Yeah, and a demo will feature multiple different, like, types of
Yeah.
roles.
Different archetypes.
Usually about 7 to 8, from my understanding, is like the standard for like a character demo. So, okay.
Oh, you over there? What's up?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, having like we had a panel earlier that we were talking about this as well. Having other hobbies to do besides just putting yourself in only voiceover, because if you are just focusing on only voiceover and then, like we said, you can do like 1,000 auditions and only get one of those yeses, it's gonna do some damage on your mental health. So it's always good to have those different avenues like reading books, watching movies, playing games, or like even just working out, anything like that, just to keep your mind distracted from all of that as well.
What
And there's
are
also
you
another thing
guys'
called
favorite
sending and
hobbies?
forgetting.
Oh,
Yeah.
sending and forgetting heavy.
What are you
Yeah.
guys' favorite hobbies? We went through it last panel, but some of these people don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My favorite hobby is I love to read books, especially romance novels, and I like to crochet. Like those are my main hobbies that I've been really getting into. And then I have a kitten, so like
That's a hobby.
that's a hobby with that amount of energy.
life.
So,
You're just a single mom now.
yeah, right.
Obviously, I'm a cosplayer as well. I like to sew clothes and alter stuff and that kind of thing. I'm also a giant weeb. No one would guess that. So I watch a lot of anime, mostly One Piece, and like that gets me through a lot of stuff. Like living in the stories of other people. When I'm like, if I'm
Yep.
feeling down, I'll watch something happy. But I also I have a cat as well. She's older and a tsundere, so it's not quite as much of a hobby, but but she's cute. I also like Lord of the Rings too much, so that's my life.
I like video games and movies and TV shows, especially trashy horror movies. I love horror movies. I
cannot
subject
wait.
that one to horror movies so often.
That one just feels so targeted. Yeah, I make The Thing watch horror movies with me. I myself also like cosplaying and playing video games. I also do dance whenever I can, and I'm in a few dance groups, a few idol groups, and whenever I can.
You
I
are?
like to,
I learned something new about you.
and that's why I don't tell anyone about my life.
Do you have like the light sticks and stuff?
Oh,
like
I go
okay.
I go crazy during
Mia
multi
literally
gays.
had light sticks like in the bag.
They
That's
were
so
falling
cool.
out of my
Sorry.
bag.
I was like, I just learned something new about you. What?
I never let anyone know anything about me ever. For you, I'm an enigma.
Yes.
And that goes for everyone here. I'm like Bigfoot. You'll never see me again.
In short, have other hobbies other than voice acting, so you don't go crazy.
Another thing is like don't just focus on just auditioning. Do other things with your acting, like learning a new accent or the biggest advice that I always give out that was given to me is do something at least towards your voiceover for 15 minutes, and that can be anything. That can be working on your resume, or that can be like because you need to keep that updated, or that could be building your website if you haven't done that, or just reading out loud for 15 minutes. Like, I mean, granted, the person that told me to read for like 15 minutes is like, okay, and if you mess up, you need to start over from the front of the page and go again until you
Sounds
can
like
get it
theater.
all right. I'm just like,
theater teacher.
As a
that was Joel McDonald.
that's about right.
Yeah,
So
no,
you're a theater teacher.
That makes sense.
As a big manga reader, every Sunday on Manga Day, I will sometimes pick a couple series that I like a lot, especially if I think there are characters that fit my like voice print a lot, and I will read the stuff out loud, and so as the different characters, and that's a good way to like practice your cold reading. It also is a good way to practice different types of voices as well. But yeah, it's reading out loud is because it's all you don't get the script in advance.
Yeah.
So
But 15 minutes, if you do like that bare minimum, at least you feel like you've done something, even if it's just reading about acting and things of that nature. Like I have, I think, over 30 books about acting that I've read from front to back and taken notes from, because there's so many out there, but everyone has so much information that they want to give out. And so I highly recommend, getting out there and looking for books. Accent books are amazing. I love those very much. That's one of my goals is to like be able to do like 30 accents, I think is my biggest goal
Damn.
right now.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah.
No. When you
Yeah.
do acting, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
I'm a DM, so
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I love Dungeons and Dragons.
NPC references, they'll have a list or like a D100 of use a nasally tone or that type of thing. You can also use that as like practice.
Dungeons and Dragons is really good practice, guys,
Yeah.
especially for improv.
Highly
Basically
recommend
improv, yeah.
We're going on our third year.
Nice.
Nice.
Congratulations.
It's a very tiring hobby. 1 to 20.
That's an achievement, though, because most Dungeons and Dragons groups, they usually fall apart after the first year.
Or
We're
like
on
within
our
the first 2
second and a
months. Yes.
Luckily, it's all over Discord, so no one has any excuse to not show up.
Right. Yes.
How do y'all prevent burnout?
sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you
it just
don't,
happens and you just play it through.
I am in an eternal state of burnout. I just keep myself from knowing it.
So
No,
I-
it's fine. I put it upon myself.
I recently had burnout not too long ago, and I just stopped watching anime and things of that nature because it was to that point where I could not enjoy anime without thinking about work. And that was when I was like, I need to take a break from this. And so I will go on to Netflix and watch my trashy TV shows that I like to watch because they're stupid and I think they're hilarious, but you know what? They're great. And so it put me back into wanting to watch more like real life shows. And go back to rewatching like Supernatural, things of that nature, because I love Supernatural. But it just was like, no, I need a break from this, so I'm going to go at least focus my energy somewhere else so that when I come back refreshed a little bit. Because honestly, when you're in this world of anime or cartoons or even video games and things of that nature, you can get really sucked up into it really fast. And then at times you're just like, that's all I'm hearing and that's all I'm knowing, and I don't want to talk about that anymore. I just want to know what you cooked for dinner.
When you get to the point where you're watching stuff and you're like, oh man, that wasn't a very good line read. You're like, you need to step up.
Yeah. Dude, that was
See,
me.
that's how I've
What was the
gotten.
director thinking?
That's
Like,
how
no,
I've
no.
gotten with like writing and stories. Like I'm like, oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, there we go.
That was those were the only thoughts I had during
spoil
Persona
things
5.
for people on accident sometimes because I make a guess at the beginning of the movie. I'm like, I'm guessing that guy is gonna be yada
do that
yada,
too.
and then it happens, and I'm like,
People are like, you've seen this already. Stop spoiling
and I'm like,
it."
nope, this is my first time seeing it.
No, I just
Oh,
know
man.
tropes.
Nope, it's usually my first time watching it, and then I'm usually right, and I'm like, oh, I'm so goated.
I'm literally so skibbity.
Skippity.
I'm so skibbity.
No,
Oh,
that's
no.
a different term.
Gosh.
Goated was around for a long time.
All right. Next truth is do not ask for roles.
Nah, we already covered that.
We technically already covered that, but just to really reiterate, that is, don't go up to the director going, "Hey, I really want to be able to be this person." Please, please.
As someone who's done this and it has actually worked for me once, kind of, don't do it. Oh my God. Don't do it.
You should be blacklisted.
I should be blacklisted. I was like, hey, we got the auditions for the case study of Vanitas, and I saw there was a cat. Do you want to hear the cat rolls? And that was a very big risk because if that had been a different director, he would have been like, absolutely not, and then I would have never worked with him again. As it was, the director was real chill, and he was like, well, sure. And it worked, but like generally, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, just like that. But generally, that doesn't, and it almost very, very rarely is that kind of thing gonna even like come up. Especially because I feel like we've kind of figured things out at Crunchyroll, especially right now. We've sort of figured things out to where like if you get auditions for something and you don't see the character you want on there, it doesn't really matter necessarily because we have like general auditions that we've already done as well that like might fit that basis, and so they'll look through that. So like, don't make up your own audition for something, or don't ask the director, hey, can I audition for this character, but they're not there. No, don't do that, or no, hey, I know you have this show, can I be in it? Like, that's not
No, just don't do that.
professional.
All right. Any questions about that? Yes.
Well, you see, when I was a small child, my first
When I was a
When I was a young boy,
well, no, but actually, my first goal in life was to be a cat, and then I realized you couldn't grow up to be a small furry animal. But like, the solution that I came up with was just imitating every single cat I ever came across after that. And so when I started doing anime, and then like cat roles came up, I would mention sometimes like. The second cat I ever voiced was actually in a show that I was already in. What is it? Something, saving 80K gold for my retirement.
Saving 80K
another
gold,
world,
another world,
isekai.
yeah.
And I was already another character, and I saw on the thing they had a bunch of like no-named bits, and one of them was just like cat 2A or whatever, and I was like, do you have someone for the cat? I can meow. And they're like, you can? Good. Then I don't have to search for somebody to do this. And so I did it, and then I already had Mur from Vanitas, and that was a weird special thing, but like, hey, I've lived my childhood dream of meowing. And I just, like, some of it is like getting to know people well enough to be like, oh, by the way, if you ever need cats,
I am a
that is
cat.
something that I do. Yeah.
I can understand that. Yeah. So, next truth is do.
sorry, I saw you wave
There
your
was a hand?
There was a hand.
Oh, yeah,
Do it, Marianne.
Do a meow.
Thank you so much for raising your hand.
Or my cat when she's distressed.
That's
Yeah.
really cute.
It's really cute. You're welcome.
I'm so glad.
Truth.
It doesn't take much to get people to decide not to work with you, and the easiest way to do that is to just be a jerk, and like, especially now, because there's so many different acting styles, different
Yeah,
locations.
so with